All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Bitcoin and a few of the Bitcoin miners in specific. This is the end of a 3-day weekend in the USA, so the equities did not trade today, but of course, Bitcoin never sleeps, so Bitcoin is still trading. I'd like to go through the Bitcoin chart. There's one major factor that is looming over both Bitcoin and the entire stock market. So I want to go through that, and then we'll look at a few miners in specific. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And of course, if you like this video, please smash the like button. Also, feel free to drop a comment below with any of your thoughts. I'm looking at Bitcoin on the 1-hour chart. This orange line right here was the close on Friday. So this is where Bitcoin was when the US equity markets closed on Friday. I've drawn a white line here. You can see basically over the course of this 3-day weekend, we've just been in a downward trend. And, we've bounced off of this line a little bit, but it's been a downward trend the last 3 days since the close on Friday. We closed on Friday at just around 40,000. We're now trading plus or minus 37,000. So we're down about $3,000 over the last 3 days. So that's not a drastic move, but it definitely has been downward pressure all weekend long. So we were hovering just above this line of support at about 39,600 at the close, and we maintained above that line for a bit. And then before the end of the night, we had broken below that line, and we have not been back above it since. We then went down and tested our next line, which is at around 37,400. This did hold very early in the day today, and now you can see on the 1-hour time frame, this is 3 candles in a row that have crossed through this line. So we're just about on this line right now, and we need to see if this is going to hold. I'm not counting on this holding based on the downward pressure that we've had over the last 3 days. I think we've been drifting downward, right? There's nothing drastic that's happened here, but we've definitely been drifting downward. That's the direction we're headed in. And so let's talk for just a minute. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm going to say. We have some geopolitical situations here right now that are looming over all assets. Certainly the equity markets, it's definitely affecting Bitcoin. We have a situation with Russia and the Ukraine. And of course, Russia and the United States were talking about having a meeting, and then that seems like that may have fallen through. And this is an extremely fluid situation. Even just in this one day today, we went from having what we thought was a de-escalation this morning to what we now think may be an escalation later in the day here today. So obviously the situation with Russia and Ukraine is very serious, and as long as that is looming over the market, and as long as there's uncertainty as to what's going to happen there, I do think the markets themselves and Bitcoin are going to go sideways at the best, if not continue to have some downward pressure. Obviously, we all hope for the best resolution in that situation, but right now it is totally uncertain. I don't want to speculate as to where that's going to go or how that's all going to be resolved, but I do think it's going to take a little time to sort out, and during that time I do think we're more likely to have downward pressure. So a lot of people have been asking me, we had a nice run, is it over? Are we in a bear market now? I don't really think we're in a bear market. I think we've got a singular event that's hanging over the head of Bitcoin and everything. And until that event is resolved in some way, or we get some clarity as to what's going to happen, we are going to be under some downward pressure. When we get to the 4-hour chart and the 1-day chart, you'll see I do think on a bigger picture we have reestablished the bull run. However, the longer this lasts and the more downward pressure we have, the more that puts that in jeopardy. This has definitely been a step backward from just about a month, you'll see, of what was positive momentum in Bitcoin. I'm going to look at a few of the indicators because they've changed drastically. Everything was moving in the right direction, and those were things that were moving in the right direction over the course of time. And then they got whammied in one day and started moving in the wrong direction. And really, it's these bigger picture world events that are controlling that at the moment. Looks like we're about 16 or 17% off of our highs from just less than 1 week ago. So, that 10 to 15% tends to be typical in Bitcoin, and that can happen quickly, sometimes even in a day. This looks like it's stretching a little bit beyond that. And as we watch this 4-hour candle, I'm just not sure this line is going to hold at all. There is another spot in the middle that I'm going to put here that could be some support. If not, potentially we could revisit 33,000 where we just were a month ago. I believe it was January 24th. So in 3 days, that'll be 1 month ago that we hit 33,000. Okay, so again, on the 4-hour time frame, what I've done is add kind of an area here. This isn't really a line, it's a range, and it looks like there's some modest support. You can see we were down around 35.5 in the January 27th time frame, and then we popped up to around 36,200, which we retested a few days later. This is about a $700 range that I think could provide some support in the short term here if we continue to drift downward. If we get below the bottom of this, then there's really nothing left in the way of support until we get to 33,000. So I'm focusing on the downside because at the moment, in the very short term, everything looks to me like the pressure is downward. And we'll take a look at just... However, again, I do think in the bigger picture, we are still on the way up. So I don't think we're in a bear market. I hear a lot of talk about a bear market right now, an extended bear market, a crypto winter. But everybody, if you step back for a minute, you'll remember that this is probably the 10th time in the last year we've had this type of a scare or FUD moment where everybody thinks we were moving into a crypto winter and Bitcoin is dead and all those things. And it's just never turned out to be true. And this time, it's really simple to see where the pressure is coming from. There's a massive geopolitical event. Ultimately, that will resolve itself one way or the other. We may go all the way down to 33,000 before we head back up, but I'm going to leave this trend line because I have a feeling that we are going to gravitate back to this somewhere over the next few weeks or a month at the most. All right, I want to take just a quick look at a few Bitcoin miners in specific. Obviously, none of the miners have changed since my last update. It's been a 3-day weekend, so there's nothing new to report here. I want to talk about a few miners that we did not talk about in the last update. The first one is Marathon. Marathon's now trading at $23.89. That is off of its all-time high of about $83.51 right here, just about 3 months ago, so not so long ago. Now, I want to point out that its previous all-time high for Marathon was back in April, somewhere in the $57 range. Marathon ran up in a way that none of the other miners ran up. This is at November 9th, so this is right as Bitcoin hit its all-time high. But Marathon had much more of a reaction to this run-up than everybody else did. So you can see it quickly pulled back to this 57-ish line. So that's the line that I'm looking at. Yes, it may get back here or beyond at some point, but more realistically, I'm looking at this previous all-time high. So you can see Marathon is off of its lows from late January, but it's still not back to its line of support from its lows in September. And it's had 2 down days in a row, as did almost every Bitcoin miner on Thursday and Friday. And I think we can expect to see another down day tomorrow unless something drastic changes between now and the morning, based on the fact that we've drifted down about 3,000 points. Why I want to talk about Marathon is they have something unique going on here. They have a fleet of about 35,000 machines that are up and running right now. They have another 60,000 new machines that have been delivered and are in their possession, and they are not yet able to hook up and run. So over the next 60 days, they're not really even counting on deliveries. They will get even more machines delivered. But they already have 60,000 waiting to be, I say, plugged in, and I understand that it takes a lot more than that. If they can get those machines up and running in a 60-day window, they're going to go from about 3.6 exahash to probably 10 exahash in a very short period of time. At 10 exahash, they will be the largest miner in North America. And you'll see, I'm just going to go back to December 3rd, which if you guys watch the channel, you're familiar with. That was the day of the Bitcoin flash crash. So if they just get back to that point, and Bitcoin was trading just under $57,000 prior to the flash crash. So if Bitcoin can get healthy and move in that direction, that would be a 108% increase in the price of Marathon stock. And I don't think Bitcoin needs to get all the way back to that point. Because again, remember, if Marathon can get up to 10 exahash in the next 60 to 90 days, they don't need to return to where they were. So I'm not expecting this to pop immediately, but I do think there's a big catalyst out there. They will get those machines plugged in most likely sooner than later. And I think at that time, there's going to be a big run up in Marathon. Let's take a quick look at CORZ Scientific. This is another one that I think has some massive upward price pressure when the time is right. So in the meantime, I won't be surprised to see everything continue to pull back based on global events. However, once we get through this period and Bitcoin gets back on track, CORZ Scientific, I believe, is very undervalued. So if we look at this stock, it has not been trading for very long. This just went from a SPAC and converted to its new ticker, CORZ. That was just back in January. So this stock has hardly been trading. So looking at its highs and lows are not that meaningful. It did plummet down to about $5.86, which in my opinion was totally ludicrous. This was the buying opportunity of all time. And I will tell you, I missed it. I was buying some other things at that point. I would have liked to have gotten in here. But you can see we have pulled back off of $11.52 was its high. And we've pulled back to $8.24. I think a very natural floor for this stock is somewhere in the $10 range. And that's a floor. So we're below that, and we're probably about to head even further below that. So again, from my perspective, this is a stock that would be very interesting to start dollar cost averaging into right now. Again, this is not financial advice. I can't tell you guys to do that. I don't know where this stock is going. But I do think I would put it on your watch list and do some due diligence, because I think this one has some potential upside. And the upside is way past this $11, because remember, this stock's only been trading for just about a month. When these SPACs convert, they tend to be low for a little while, and they need to find their footing. Sometimes that takes months. So it's possible, this stock's trading at $8. This stock could easily double if Bitcoin gets healthy and starts to head in the right direction. So again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where this stock is going to. So please be careful. This is a brand new stock ticker and obviously also very volatile. But I do think there's some, in my opinion, there's some potential upside here. These are two of the biggest players in the game here in North America for Bitcoin mining. So Marathon and CORZ. So I wanted to take a look at these two large companies because Marathon in specific, their market cap has been knocked down from 7.7 billion to 2.4 billion. And CORZ is even bigger than them, and they're hanging around at 2.6 billion. So some potential upside there. That's all I got for you today on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.